Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Godwin Umosen. I am a software developer and a data analyst. I specialize in Python and Django. Highly motivated and competent to take up any challenges related to software programming and also data visualization and analyzing. I've been a software developer where I teach children about Python and Django. With the grace, I'll be able to develop about 60 students to become a Django developer. In this case, I'll be teaching you how to work with Django, how to become a Django beginner to a pro. And I believe you have VS Code already installed in your laptop. You have Python machine already installed in your laptop, and you're about to install Django. Sorry about that. Now, kindly open your VS Code as we begin the class. I believe when you open your VS Code is blank. But there is something I like doing whenever I want to code. I make sure I set my autosave to be automatic instead of you saving it manually. You can simply click it, let it be auto. As a Django developer, the first thing that you have to do is create your visual environment. All developers have their visual environment. Without your visual environment, I don't think you are a developer. So as a developer, you need to have your visual environment running. After your visual environment, you need to set up your Django. Let's assume you don't have Django installed in your computer. Follow me as I do pip install the Django. If you are a Mac user, I will advise you to use Python-m pip install Django. As you can see, it said requirement already satisfied, which means that I have Django installed in my system. I don't have to install Django anymore. So you have to install Django into your system. If you try pip install and it does not work out, kindly try Python 3-m pip install. It works. Now, after installing Python, the next step you have to do is to create your Django environment. Now, this is how to create Django environment. First thing you have to do is to type in Python -m venv, which stands for virtual environment. So I will name my environment Win. Please remember what you name your environment. In this case, my environment name is Win. Click enter. It's loading. Let's give it some time. It's loading. CD Win. As you can see, I'm inside my virtual environment. The next thing we have to do is to create our Django before activating our virtual environment. You need to say Django -admin start project. You can follow me or you can name your project whatsoever you want to name your project. In this case, I'll be naming my project blog post. Remember, the name of my project is blog post. Enter. It's loading our project. It has finished loading our project. Now I have to cd blog post. After cd blog post, in this particular step, we have two types of doing this. Is either you use Django-admin start app, or you use python manage.py start app. I know most of you are already used to python manage.py start app, but I'll be using Django admin start app. It's the same thing. Django admin start app. And I will name my app block. It's loading. That's finished loading. As you can see, there is nothing here. We need to bring the app that we just created. Open your file, go to open folder. Your app might be in desktop, or it might be anywhere you feel like to put it. Like mine is in administrator, this administrator that you are seeing here. So I can go to my PC, go to my local disk, go to my user. As you can see administrator here, and definitely my app is here. This folder that you are seeing is my visual environment. I click it. Now when you click it, your screen will transform from plain Visual Studio Code to working Studio Code. Now this is my visual environment. As you can see, this is my visual environment. And this is my blog post, the app that I created. This is my app. And this is my project. So as a developer, whenever you create your project and your app, the next thing that you have to do is to simply register the app in your setting.py. First thing, register your app. As you can see, I'm in install app. You need to register your app. The name of my app is block. So I'll simply name it block, then comma. You can put double quote or you can put single quote. But in this case, I will advise you to use single quote rather. After doing that, close your setting. Open your setting again. Go back to on top of your setting. You have to import your OS. Import OS. Close your app. Close your setting. Close. I know some of you will be wondering, why is this thing not working? CD block post. Now it's time for us to check our simple app. Python manage.py run server. Let's wait. Is running. As you can see, it said you have 18 on apply migration. Your project may not work properly until you apply the migration for app. Well, I was working with other projects, that is why it's showing me that, but simply ignore that. Now, as you can see in my terminal, as you can see in my browser, it said the install worked successfully. Congratulations. This shows that your journey of becoming a Django developer, a backend developer, is set. In Django, there is something that you need to know, which is called MVT. MVT. M stands for model, V stands for views, T stands for template. Let's talk about Django before we move on. Django was designed to help developers take applications from concept to completion as quickly as possible. Django is a backend server web framework, easy to build web page using Python. Imagine a container a goose of container, and a Land Rover or a Range Rover. There is difference between those two, should I say two cars? There is difference between those two vehicles. If a container wants to move from Lagos to Abuja, perhaps it might take up to 8 to 9 hours before it will get to its destination. But when talking about other frameworks like Flask, it can take about 6 hours, which means that Django is bigger and is dynamic. And the sweetest part of Django is you can work anywhere. It's an open source framework for all backend. Django is a high-level Python web framework that encourages rapid development and pragmatic dynamic design. So you see, you can focus on writing your apps without needing to reinvent the wheel. It's free and open source. After creating and setting up your Django project and the app, also register your app in setting.py. Another important thing to do as a Django developer is to create your model. Remember, I said something about MVT. The reason why this is showing, it might show in your own or it might not showing, is because my visual environment is on. Now look down in your VS Code where my pointer is. You can see the name of my visual environment is Win, and you can see my environment. So for us not to get these Django errors, we need to close that now. We need to use the global variable for now, so it will be easy for us to understand. It's loading, it's loading, it's loading. As you can see, it's normal now. It means that my Django is ready to run. Remember this, as a Django developer, first thing you need to do is register your app. After register your app, remember the MVT, model view template. This is my model. What is model? You need to understand what I mean by model. Model is the foundation of all programming. Model is the foundation of Django also. Model, without your model, your website will be static, your website will not be functionable to me. And the sweetest part about model field, it offers 26 different field types to capture different data formats, which means you can capture any format. You can use the chart field, you can use text field, you can use image field, you can use image. You can also use many-to-many, and it gives the admin authorization to perform any logics that he or she wants to perform. As you can see, Django is interesting to learn. So let's say we want to set up our basic Django model. First of all, as a user, you can clean this up. As the user or as the admin building the website, you need to import user. So follow me as I code along with it. From Django.contrib, oh, my browser is bringing it out, that's good. Django.contrib contrib.auth .model import user. Imagine you as the user. As I said before, you have to ignore anything that is showing. Follow along with me. Let's say we want to create our model. How would the website looks like? What are the categories that we are passing into the website? And what are the data that we are passing into the website? Let's say here we create our simple model class. Remember, you work with class in Python. Class. And I will name my model block model. You can name your model whatsoever you want to name it, but I advise you to code along with me. Remember, model is very important. Please don't miss model. Now it's asking you what are the attributes to pass. Remember, when you are working with class in OOP, you pass in attribute where you work with self, returning self is the same thing with the model. So let's say in our website we have something called title equals to. After title, we have content. After content, our website, we have something like user. You are the user. Or let's call it author, because you are the author admin. And we have something like let's leave it here first. Model dot child field. What I mean by child field, I mean character field. There is difference between child field and max length. Max length simply determines how many words are we passing into the child field, into our title. Is it going to be more than 100? In this case, you can put 150, you can put 200, you can put 1000, depending on what you want to put. In our content, we say model dot. As a content, we are not going to use child field anymore. We simply use what we call text field. And text field does not carry any max length. Simply leave it like that. Now, as an author, we are not using model field, we are not using child field, we are not using text field, but we'll use something else called foreign key. Remember, I said Django offers 26 different fields. So here we have foreign key. So in this foreign key, we are simply the user. As you can see, that is the user. And the next thing we need to do is on delete cascade model.cascade. Let's leave it that basically. And you need to return str. Wipe this off, we don't need it. Wipe this off, we don't need it. So we need to say self dot. What are we returning? We are returning title. We are returning just the title. Then after that, we need to go to, okay, let's run our migration. We have not run migration. Follow along with me. Python manage.py make migration. Remember to put /migrations. As you can see, migrations 0001 initial.py. Remember one step, and the one step is migrate. We need to migrate this to our Light database since we have not yet connected our Postgres to our app. So we need to work with the Light database, which is this. As you can see, you see database 3. Now it has finished applying. Next, we need to run server. It's coming up. It's collecting our data. As you can see, our Django is ready. Now, next step is to go to the view section of your app. Remember, your model class was block model. Block model was your app, your class name. So when you go to your view section, kindly clean this up. You need to import exactly what you created there. So we need to say from period. You understand what I mean by that? Model. This is the meaning of period. Everything that is there is period. If I want to work with model, I want to call the view. I don't need to say from view. I need to say period since it's under the app, except I create a new app. From period.models import. Remember, we need to import our block model. Now our block model is in the view. Next step is to create a function view into our view. Django view are Python functions that takes HTTP request and return HTTP response. What I mean by HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. There is difference between HTTP and HTTPS. The S stands for secure. When we start working with the SRF token, that is when you understand everything that I'm saying. But for now, you don't have to understand, just follow me along. So let's say we create a function, and also in Django, you can use either function or you can use class-based view. But in this case, we'll be using function-based view. Let's name our function index. You are familiar with that. If you have worked with HTML and CSS, you know that all blocks start with index for home. So let's simply name it index, and the parameter is going to be request. We are not passing argument, we are passing parameter as request. In this request section, we need to return render. Return render. If you are wondering what is render, as you can see, say from Django.shortcut import render. Remember, I said something about HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and Hypertext Transfer Secure. Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. So now, hypertext simply means sending request and also responding to the request. So now we are sending index, request, and return render. So whenever you want to return your render, you first of all pass in request, comma, and which of the HTML page are you returning? In this case, you are returning index.html. We have not created our HTML yet, but we will have to do so. Then you can simply pass in content. But let's pass this dictionary key first. Then later we'll take care of that. So we are about to create our template. Create a folder. Name the folder template. Please follow along with me. Template. Remember to put the S, is very important. Create another folder. Name the folder static. This is where your static file will be. In this template, create another file, not folder, file. Name it index.html. And I will advise you to create another file, name it base.html. Now, in your base.html and you have index.html, I would like you to close that. After closing it, go to your URL in setting.py file. Remember, your setting.py file is in your blog post. So as you can see, this is my URL. I don't really like all these comments, but you can leave it. I like cleaning my off so that I will have space to do whatever I'm doing. So now you have to include your app URL. As you can see, your app does not have a URL here, so you have to create a URL for your app. URL. Yes, please follow along with me. .py. Remember to create it inside your app, not inside your project. Now go to your URL app, copy the one that is in your project, navigate to the one that you just created, paste, cancel this admin, you don't need it, the admin is already there. Cancel this admin, you don't need it, the admin is already there. Double quote, comma. In this section, we'll be importing the view. If you understand what I mean, from period, remember you need to import view. From period, import view, import view, I guess, view. Import view. As view has imported, you need to, it's for us to define the path index. Please follow along with me. You can name it index. We have one now, comma. Simply copy. Remember, we have two things in our template. I will simply name this. This will be base. And here will be base, remember. And here will be base, remember. We don't need this. Okay. This is the one inside your project. Simply clear this up. Clear this. Remember, you import from Django.url, import path and include. So now we are about to include our URL, our block URL, block.urls. Remember to put comma so you won't encounter any error. After that, close the app. You don't need it again. As you can see, it said model block.view has no attribute base. So we need to go back to our view. In here, we need to bring out our base here, def base. And we need to pass in request as our parameter or argument. Then you returned render. You return render. Remember, what follows your render is request. Then what are you rendering? In this case, we are rendering base.html. Now, as you can see, our browser is still running. Now it has disappeared from the rocket sign to port 8000 with an empty web page. Let's go back to our code. it means that our code is running successful. So now in our index.html, the next step we have to take is go to our template. We need to set up our template. You have registered your app. Let's look for where our template is. Template, 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 template. Now I'm in my template section. Simply type ox dot path. Now I was thinking it's going to bring it out. Let me do it manually. Path join. You are joining the base. So let's say base, comma. Then what are we basing? Template. Remember to put S while typing it. Template. As you can see, we have our template here. It's ready to run. Close it. Now let's go to our template. This is our template. As you can see, our template is nothing. There is nothing in our template. Our base, there is nothing. But in this case, let me simply show you H1 JavaScript H1. I'm trying to type very fast. Now, if you go back to your application, run your code. It's coming up. I think my server is not running. So I have to run my server. My server breaks. Now go back to the same code. As you can see, it said hello user. It means that we have set up the MVT. This is a simple MVT, simple model, simple view, and a simple template. Now let's do more to show more. Let's navigate to our Bootstrap. I like using Bootstrap to make it clear. So we'll be using Bootstrap, get Bootstrap. Code along with me. You click it. In this case, I'll be using Bootstrap 5.2. Feel free to use whatsoever you want to use, any Bootstrap you want to use. There are many versions coming out every day, every month. So click on Starter Template. It means that you are ready to start a template. Put your template in base. Paste. I don't think we need all these. Delete. Let the rest be there. Delete this. We don't need this. And this hello world, I don't think we need this. Delete. Let's leave the title. Later we'll use our Django default block title to do that. All we want to do is to make it run. Go back to your Bootstrap. It means that your Bootstrap is ready to run. Let's do a simple thing here. Go to component, click on component, go to navbar. Let's see if our navbar is going to display instead of coding it from scratch. You can simply use any one you want to use. Feel free about using. Let me use this. Now you can paste this after your title. You don't need much of this. I don't think I need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. I need a simple to show. Now let's go back, run the code. It's not showing. We need to make it to show. Okay, something is missing. Kindly clear this up. and we need to extend our base.html. Kindly type extend base.html. I believe you have that in. And there is something you need to do. You need to type in block content. You all know the meaning of content. Block content. And you need to end your block content. Whenever you open block content, you need to end block. Whenever you open your for loop, you need to end your for loop. End block. Now go back, run the code. Invalid block tag on line 1. Expected, do you forget to register or load the static? If you go back to your base.html, if you can see, we extend base.html without creating our block content here. So you also have to create a block content. And you also have to end your block content. Please remember to put space so that you will not have error. Go back and run the code. Oh, I can see the mistake, sorry. It happens whenever we are working with Django. I misspelled. It's not expand, extend. Sorry about that. I apologize. Extend. Now that we have extended our base.html, you should be able to run. Now we have navbar and we have home. Remember, I've deleted some of those navigation bar. I don't think we need much. Now that we have our navbar and we have our base.html set up, let's make a little thing to appear before we close the section. Go back to your Bootstrap. Let's go to cart. Feel free to click whatsoever card you wish to click. Oh, I think I like this first one. I'll click this. Go back to your VS Code. Go back to your index.html and paste it here. Remember to paste it in between the block content in your index.html and your end block.html. If you paste it outside, it might not show. So remember to paste it in between them. Now go back to your code, run. You see, we have our block, we have the card title, we have some quick example, we have the image which we copy from Bootstrap. So in this case, we need to make something to appear here because I don't like the way it's looking. So to make that appear, we have to go back to our model. Remember, we create title, we create content, we create author, but there is something we forgot, which is our image. So we need to create image field. You can simply say img. This is going to carry model dot should be image field. So now, one thing about image field, when you are working with image field is different from others. So what you have to do is to say upload to. Where are you uploading it to? Quotation, images. Images. Remember to put your forward slash. As you can see, this is it. Then there is an error that is being pop up, which means that there is no settings. There is no configuration settings for this, which we have to do that in our settings.py. So in this case, we have to go back to our settings.py. Remember, your settings.py is in blog post. Go back to your settings.py, down, down, down. You will find static URL. So under the static URL, I will advise you to follow me along the way I code. Down of the static URL, capital letter, let's name it static root. We'll name it static root equals to os dot path dot join. It means that you are joining something. What are we joining? We are joining base, comma, then kindly name it static file. Please follow along with me. Static files. Down, you will do the same for static root. This time around, it's not going to be static root, it's going to be static file. Static files. I made mistake with my spelling. Static files underscore dir. Please, it's very important to put dir. Remove it from your cap lock and my bad. Remove it from your cap lock. We need to pass in dictionary. No, let's pass in list. We need to pass in list. os dot path dot join. Joining base. Static. If you code with me, I believe you will not have error. Now, this is very important when it comes to image. Without this, your image is not going to show. Django image is a little bit tricky that you have to handle it with care. We have, remember, we are working with media. Please, let's make it small letter. Python is so sensitive. It might bounce back at us. Remember, you also have to create media root. Django is boring, but as a developer, boringness is our work. So you don't have to depend if it is boring or not. You just have to follow along. Then we need to pass media. Run server. System check error. System identify some issue. Okay, as it is now, we need to install something. Pip, kindly type pip install pillow. Pillow is for our image so that Django will be able to recognize our image field. It's loading. I'm installing pillow. Please kindly install pillow in your laptop. If you are using Mac, is python-m pip install pillow. After installing pillow, you can run the server. Now, as you can see, we are not experiencing any errors anymore. So you have to go back to your main app URL. It's very important. Go back to your app URL and you need to import some things so that the image file will be able to work. So we need to say from Django, from django.contrib.url, django.contrib. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not contrib. Django.config. I think that stands for configuration.urls static import static. So as you can see, we are importing our static file, import static, and we need to do another one from django.conf import settings. I think import, hope I'm correct, settings. Yes, we have imported settings. So now we need to do a little bit magic here so that our static app runs very well. If follow along with me, you are checking something now. If settings dot debug, remember I will show you where the debug is. Remember to put your function code URL pattern. Remember URL pattern plus equals to static. So we are calling settings. Remember, we import settings dot capital letter media underscore URL comma document underscore root equals to settings dot media underscore root. So kindly copy this so that you not waste your time typing it one more time. Paste. Now we need to change this from media. This will be static capital letter, static URL, and this will be static root. You don't have to understand what I'm doing, but code along with me. In that case, you'll be able to understand every single thing that I'm doing. My server is still running. Let me check. We have no errors in our server. Our server is still running. I know in this case you'll be asking me how is the picture going to appear. Now that we have set up our media root and the media URL, everything is good to go. Close your settings. This is our model. We will have to migrate our model one more time. This is our URL. Close the URL. Leave the MVI. the MVT to appear. So what we have to do next now is go back to our model and let's make migration. If you can remember, Python, please capital it, small letter, Python manage.py, make migration. If I'm having errors, I apologize, I'm not with my glasses, so I'm taking my time looking at the computer very well. Press 1. Now, Python manage.py. Remember manage.py. Then you need to make migrate. It's yelling back at us. Did I misspell? Okay, I misspelled. And I believe in your own case, you might have spelled it very well. I'm not with my glasses. I apologize for that. Now, it said migration apply. Run your server. Now that our server is being run, we don't need the model anymore. Close the model. Now we have to open our app. Clear this, I don't like seeing all this. Import from .model, remember? Import blog post. Let's simply register our app, admin dot site dot register. Before we register that, I like to create another class, and I will name this, I will name my class block admin. You can name it whatever you want to name it, but remember to put admin dot model admin. It's very, very important. After that, I like using class, let's say at least display. We are about to display some things. I can simply type title. Remember, what we are displaying here is this thing, this attribute. You can copy this, go back to your admin, comma, displaying this, I think I have to display auto. Okay. Admin.site.register. You need to pass in block model, comma. You need to pass in our block admin. Why is it showing? Remember to put your equal sign. Now, very important step is we need to create admin. So you need to say Python manage dot py create super user. My super user, I will name it admin. You can ignore the email if you want. Then your password. Remember the password that you are using as the admin. Very, very important. Remember your password. Confirm your password. As you can see, it said super user created successfully. Run your server. It's coming up. Our server is running. Now go back to your web browser of your choice. Click. I would like you to duplicate this. Duplicate it. This is the short form of duplicate. Kindly tap duplicate. Then let's say /admin. In our new tab, this is our admin. Remember your admin username was, mine was admin, and I have my password. Boom. You see, this is my admin. Remember, this is my block model that I created. And in this block model, if I open, we have nothing in our block model. So let's say that I will simply add some models so that we can use it here, like the image, the title, the content, and the URL, which we need to perform, but I don't have to add the slugs anymore. So let's say our first title is, let me name it first Django app. And in this content, let's define Django. Django is high-level Python programming language. You can define whatever you want to define, and it's asking you who is posting this. And I will have to copy an image. I have to copy this. Let's copy this. Let's save it. I think I will have to do two. This one will be, let's rename this to second. You can simply use who is posting this author, and let's use this. Let's add another one. See, we have two files now. Let's make it three. Then here will be ordinary, or let's say third. Code along with me. Web pages. After this, we are not adding one more thing again. Save. As you can see, we have three apps in our admin. But if you go back to your web page and refresh, nothing is showing. So we need to make that to show right here. And the only way we can do that is to go back to our VS Code. We are done with the admin. Let's click this. I don't think we need this link for now, though it's valuable, but we don't need it for now. All this content here, we don't need it for now. Let's go back here. This is now we need to render what we are doing. Let's call this block equals to, we need to call our database that we just work on. Remember, the name of our model is block model. So in this block model dot objects dot all, we are using all. Context. Then we need to pass in the context here. Very important. So right now our Django app is ready. This is time for us to use the logic part. We can simply say here we will pass in something else. But before we do that, we need to run the for loop. Here we need to run for loop, if not it's not going to show. So we are going to say for block in blocks. Remember, these particular blocks that you are seeing here is these blocks here calling the database. So now we cannot say for blocks in blocks. So here can be for X, here can be for anything, but let's use block and let's close our for M4 here. Remember, when you open, you need to close it. N4. This is time to render what we built. You can say block dot title. Here was title. Block title, and here will be content. We already have content. content. Let's check if it's working. Something is going on here. Okay, I can see what is happening. I think our image field need to uh, our image field, image. Okay, I can see it. I need to um why is this thing not coming up? Block dot. We have our three blocks that we created, but I want it to be horizontal, not vertically. Something is going on here. Something is going on here. I will have to choose another card. Mm, field. Mm, yes, it's bigger. We have our three apps setting up. This is our first Django, and this is our second Django, and this is our third Django. This is just a basic Django application. I think I will have to close this. I don't have to work with it anymore. Or I can simply quit. Let's say I quit it. Please code along with me. Mhm. It's not that close anymore. So this is our simple basics Django application, and I hope you have learned a lot. You don't have to understand what I'm doing, but code along. With time, you will understand. Thank you very much. See you in my next class.